creating and inserting blocks in AutoCAD. There will be no assignment for this lecture. Okay, so in the past we talked about inserting symbols or blocks from the AutoCAD catalog or library. Simply go to the View tab, go to Tool Palettes, and you'll have a bunch of options as far as blocks and symbols to insert into your AutoCAD file. So let me walk you through that again. All right, so we're going to go to the View tab, go to Tool Palettes, and you have a bunch of options as far as symbols and blocks that you can insert. Let's go to Architecture. Architecture uses these symbols and blocks quite a bit. Okay, so here we have a vehicle. Let's go ahead and insert a vehicle. And see where my cursor is? That's my insertion point. So in this case, whoever modeled up this car, they chose that location where you see the cursor as the insertion point. And we're going to also create our own insertion point for our blocks. Okay, let's go ahead and insert a door. Let's say the car's parked in front of the house. Insert some windows. Let's see, we also have some trees. This appears to be a top view. If you're looking at it from the top, there's your trees. All right, so let's learn how to create our own blocks. Okay, so let's go ahead and close this up. Go back to the Home tab. All right, so how do we create our own blocks? Okay, so creating blocks, we go to the Insert tab. We're gonna go to the drop down and create our own block, and then we can then save it by writing it. Okay, so before you create a block, you first need to create geometry. Once you create geometry, then you can select the geometry you want to be part of your new block. And then this is your insertion point. And you give it a name. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a happy face. Let's go back. We're going to create this happy face that we see here. All right, so let me go ahead and we're in the visible layer. Okay, visible layer. I'll draw a happy face. Let me start with large circle. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the green center layer, draw the eyes. And I'm going to draw a mouth. And let me throw in a nose. Okay, so let's say we wanted to create a block. Okay, let me zoom into my new geometry here. So we're going to go to Insert, Create Block. Right, so we're going to create our block. And we're going to go ahead and select our objects. So select objects to be part of this block. Okay, so you can go ahead and capture the items and hit enter. Okay, so you can see the geometry we selected here in this preview. And now insertion point. Okay, so we're going to pick our own insertion point. We don't want to use the origin of this drawing, of this AutoCAD file. So we're going to pick our own insertion point. And we're going to pick this center of the face or the nose, or else it'll use the insertion point that's way down here where you see the green and red line. This is our vertical axis, our horizontal axis, and this is the origin. We don't want to use that as our insertion point. We'll use the center of the nose. And click. And these are the coordinates for that point, for that insertion point. Okay, so now let's go ahead and give it a name. And we'll just call it Happy Face. All right, I think we got everything, and hit OK. Oh, forgot you're not allowed to use spaces or symbols. So let me go ahead and remove this space. Okay, so Happy Face as one word, and hit OK. All right, so once we created a block, we can go ahead and insert a block. Let's go back to our notes. So to insert a block, here it is. We click on this icon. And then later on, we're going to edit our block. We'll make some changes to it. But first, let's insert a few blocks of Happy Faces. Okay, so we're going to go to Insert. Here it is. So remember some of the last blocks that we inserted. The vehicle, the door, the window, and the trees. We're going to go to our new block, Happy Face. Click. And notice how it's inserting it with respect to the nose, the center of the nose. And we can insert quite a few if we want. And keep on inserting. I'll insert a few more. Okay, so now you may ask, isn't it easier just to copy and paste? And yes, you can just copy and paste. But the cool thing about creating a block is that you can alter it. So we can go to Edit. Okay, so let's go back to our notes. We can go to Block Editor. We can edit our block, and all of them will update. Okay, so we have 5 Happy Faces, and we can edit them all in one shot with Block Editor. Okay, so let's go back. So here is Block Editor. Let's click on it, and we're going to select our Happy Face. There it is, Happy Face, and hit OK. Now we are in Block Editor. And to exit, all we have to do is click on the check mark here on the top right. Okay, so let's say we wanted to make some changes. So I'm going to take the Happy Face and I'm going to turn it into a sad face. Okay, so now Happy Face is sad face. Okay, so now when we exit, it's going to update all the 5 Happy Faces we have. So we can go ahead and exit, click close. Do you want to save the changes? Yeah, we're going to save them. So we haven't saved it as a file yet. So that's why he's asking, do you want to save changes? Yes, we're going to save it. And there they are. Now they're all, the 5 Happy Faces are now 5 sad faces. Okay, now, if we're going to be using this block, just as in architecture, they use these blocks a lot, these doors, windows. If you want to make your own window and save it so you can use it in later projects or in other AutoCAD files in the future, then you can save this block as a file. Okay, so we're going to go to Write Block. We're going to write it. In other words, we're going to save it so we can use it at any time in other drawings. Okay, so Write Block. Okay, so here's asking me where do you want to save it? So I'm going to go ahead and just save it on my desktop. Okay, so I'll save it on my desktop. And I'm going to save it as Happy Face. So it is going to save it as a .dwg file. I'll just save it on the desktop and save. Okay, so what are we going to save? We're going to save one of our blocks. So click on block and click happy face. Okay, so it's going to save my block, which is named happy face, and we're going to save it as happyface.dwg. And hit OK. All right, so if I was to start a new file, a new drawing, so let's go to start and start a new drawing from scratch. And we wanted to use that block, the happy face block. Okay, so we can go ahead and insert a block. Okay, so we're going to insert a recent block. And here it is, my happy face. And it's going to insert it. And click to locate. Okay, and there it is. There's our happy, which is now a sad face. And also I want to show you how to open your happyface.dwg file. So we can go to open. We can go to desktop. And here is my happyface.dwg file. And you can open it. And there's our happy face, which we can always go ahead and select, and we can copy it over to our drawing. Or we can just do it the easy way and just go to insert from here and keep inserting more happy faces. Okay, so that is how to create blocks. Okay, so we learned how to create a block, how to save it. So we right block and we save it. And if you also want, you can always take a block and explode it. You can use the explode command to break it up into individual pieces, and that'll disconnect, or that'll take the entity and break it into individual pieces that we can then use. So once we insert a block, you can see it's one entity. We can actually explode it and break it from the link of that block. So we can go to the Home tab and go ahead and explode it. So it explodes the block and breaks it up into individual. So it's no longer a block. These are now just separate entities. This one is still in one piece, right? Or I should say it's one entity. So this is still a block here. The one on the right is no longer a block. It's been broken up into individual pieces, which we can use now and alter or delete if we want. Okay. All right, so that's the end of how to create and insert blocks. End of lecture.